That's okay.
Call this meeting of the City of Hawarden, Iowa to order on Wednesday, January 28th, 2015 at 5:45 p.m. Councilman Larry Bowder is absent this evening. His sister-in-law passed away, and we give our sympathies to him. The first standard agenda item, approval of the January 14th, 2015 council meeting minutes. They're in your packet.
So moved.
There's been a motion by Travis, a second by Tim. Any further clarifications? All in favor then of the approval of the January 14th minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That passes 3-0. Next is the approval of the January 28th claims for payment, and we'll start with Tim with questions, please. No questions? Travis?
None.
Monty, any questions?
Is this $11,000 to the Sioux County Sheriff's Office? Is that an annual fee, or is that 6 months, or what is that?
It's Mike,
Annual.
it's an annual fee,
It's
but,
our share of the comm center expense.
That come off
pardon me?
phone?
But
Is that phone?
It's in all of the emergency
Yeah.
services budget,
It's-
parts of it.
it's pulled out of both, all fire and ambulance and police.
This is a city expense, not an E911 expense.
Right.
Okay. I'm done.
Okay. Is there a motion for January 28th claims for payment?
So moved.
Moved by Tim. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Travis. All in favor then of the January 28th claims for payment, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? It passes 3-0. Any business from the community? Not seeing any. We'll move to the mayor's report. The 123rd Annual Firemen's Ball will be held this weekend. Please support our volunteers on the squad and thank them for their service. Our congratulations to the Citizens of the Year, the volunteers at our local food pantry. This award is well deserved for the many hours they spend in assisting at the pantry. In our packet today for the council is the Hawarden Police Department year-end report for 2014. Our department handled 1,733 calls in Hawarden. They continue to make calls for property maintenance, and I ask our citizens' help in making this the year that we all take pride in our property, and our police department will not have to remind us to mow or keep up our homes and businesses. My thanks to our staff and the council members for their work in the budget process. Our proposed budget numbers are looking very good. The election for the open city council seat vacancy is coming up in March. If you are interested in being on the ballot, though, you need to get your papers into the county by the first week of February. So not here to the city offices, but to the county auditor. And lastly, the City of Hawarden website, as I remind you, is a great place to view upcoming events in our community. On the chamber scroll down is the community calendar. So please refer to it often to enjoy the many activities that are happening here in Hawarden. Any comments from City Council?
Yeah, I have a couple quick ones. First, congratulations to the Hawarden Regional Healthcare for getting a perfect rating on their spot visit by the, what was it, recertified, their critical care, critical access hospital. And it's only happened twice in 9 years that anybody got a perfect rating, and Hawarden's the second, so that's really a feather in their bonnet. Jason, well done. And also congratulations to the West Sioux High School for got a 87 out of the 350 of the high schools in the state. And that's, I think, quite a nice accomplishment for a town our size. That's it.
Okay. Thank you, Tim. Anyone else for comments from council? Hearing none, then we'll move to staff reports, please, and we'll start with Tom, Department of Public Works.
I have a couple items. We had some things going on with our tree pile. Our wood chips are sent to the Poet Biofuel plant in Chancellor, South Dakota, and they have a contract with Mueller Pallet in Sioux Falls that chips our wood pile. And they deliver the chips so they can use them in the boiler to produce their ethanol. We were notified last week by Mueller Pallet that the state of Iowa is quarantined because of the emerald ash borer infestation and that we can no longer haul chips across the border to South Dakota. But yesterday I received another call from Mueller Pallet, and they had met with the USDA and POET, and they are going to allow us to bring them across from October 1st to May 1st. That's the time frame that apparently the ash borer is dormant. And we'll just have to sign another agreement with them, and I would be happy to do that. Our only other choice would probably be to burn the pile, and I know that wouldn't be real pleasant for the people living alongside it. Our electric construction bids are being sent out next week for Phase 2. March 3rd, we're going to receive the bids with the public hearing and acceptance of the bids, hopefully on March 11th, on our March 11th meeting. And it sounds like we'll have quite a few contractors probably interested in that bid. It's a nice residential area, and they seem to like that. Hopefully we'll get a boring crew for that. Our electric crew is taking down transformers, wires, H structures in the east alley of Main Street, if you haven't noticed. And Gary and I were talking, and we figured maybe there might be as much as 15,000 feet of wire were on those 3 blocks. And it was a lot of weight, and there's a lot of material there yet with the poles, but we'll be starting on those next. So
Can we sell the copper?
yes, we are selling the copper as we take it, and we're trying to get rid of it fairly quick so that it's not sitting around and tempting anybody. So the aluminum isn't quite as attractive. It's got the rubber case around it. That's all I have.
It was quite a process when they were taking it. It had a lot of weight there when you got those wires. Okay. Brenda, anything from your point of view tonight?
I just wanted to say that I continue to become more familiar with my position here at the City of Hawarden, and wanted to thank Cheryl for the mentorship that she's provided to me, and thank the staff and council for your patience as I continue to learn in my new position here with the city.
Okay. Thank
No
you.
one's ever called me patient before.
Gary Tucker, City Administrator.
Tom and I were fighting about earlier about what who's going to talk about what. So I just wanted to mention that we're going to talk tonight. We have an ordinance on the table tonight, and we're going to talk about increased fees and make sure that the public is aware that most of those fees, much of those fees are a result of our local television stations increasing costs to us to carry them significantly. We will be putting together an information sheet that will go out to all of our customers that will talk about those fees and what those increases are, what they're resulting from. And then we'll also, we've talked to our billing folks today, and we're going to have a line item on our bill that will say retransmission fees, and it will address those directly, what it costs us to carry the local channels in our cable system, so that the public will then realize that our increases that they will be incurring are almost a direct reflection on as to what our cost increases have been. So it isn't like we're making any more money, we're just recapturing the increased cost to provide that service. So
Okay, anything else from you?
that should be all. Thank you.
Mike, anything?
Nothing tonight?
Okay, Mr. Pickner, anything from you?
Nothing tonight.
I'm sorry.
Well said, I think. All right, we'll move on. Agenda item number 3 is the mayoral appointments. With everyone's schedule, I'd like just to continue, if we could, with Travis as mayor pro tem and Tim on the chamber board and Larry on the development board, if that's agreeable. It seems like their schedules for their days would work best for those positions. Which would bring us into Jason Pullman, again, a hospital update. Thanks for being with us this evening.
Good evening. Last time I was here, I talked about
the possibility of extending the bid dates one more time, and that has happened. The bids were due on the 23rd of January, and now they will be extended until February 5. And I'm been assured that this is the last time that they'll push them back. We had some challenges with our IT strategy, and so we've decided to move that outside the budget for this project, and we'll deal with that at a later date. So the bids will be coming in on February 5th, and so we're trying to make sure all the contractors have the appropriate information, and the last addendum will come out on Monday. And so we'll have a new bid documents and also a checklist for contractors to make sure that they have the appropriate information that they need to appropriately bid a public bid. So we're working through that. We do have a solution for the dietary department once it's been removed. We will be partnering with Hillcrest for patient meals and some staff meals, and so we'll be partnering with them and transporting them from there to the hospital to feed people. Otherwise, we're still continuing to plan and move people around and getting ready for the start of the construction. Start of the construction will probably be end of March if everything goes right and the bids come in favorably. So.
Great that you got the dietary and be able to work with staff up at Hillcrest to get that all worked out.
Yeah, it was a good arrangement for us.
That's a big part. Any questions for Jason this evening from council? Good. Thanks again for bringing us and the community up to date on the project.
Yes, thank you.
Appreciate your time. Agenda item number 5. This would be the first reading of an ordinance 692. Ordinance increasing internet network access rates and cable television rates. If we get a motion and a second, we'll have further discussion on that.
So moved.
There's been a motion by Travis, seconded by Tim for the first reading of ordinance 692. These were discussions that took place at the last meeting. And Gary, bring us a little more information in this regard, if you would.
Again, we met, at the last meeting, we talked quite a bit about rates. I believe most of it in closed session, but as we move forward, we talked about increasing the digital piece up to $30 from $10. Our costs right now are $28.01. But we only have about 2 clients or 2 customers that currently use pay-per-view on a monthly basis. Because of the low subscribership that we have, it costs us. We have to pay a subscriber fee for every digital customer for just to provide pay-per-view, even to those that don't use it. So, by eliminating pay-per-view, it will save us $4 per subscriber on the digital side. So instead of going to $30, I would suggest $26. And then we don't handle pay-per-view, because again, there's about two individuals that use pay-per-view on a monthly basis, and so that is one of the changes that Jim and I put into the ordinance that we hadn't talked about. So I just wanted you to know up front that the other piece I think we need to talk about is the retransmission fees. Again, they went from, for instance, a KCAU went from 80 cents per subscriber per month to $2.20 per subscriber per month, and most of the local carrier stations that we have did similar increases. So the increases just for us carrying the local channels such as KCAU, KTIV, KMEG, KELO, there's a couple others. The increase went from $4 a subscriber to $11.42 a subscriber. So just that increase alone was $7.42 a month per subscriber. So as you can see, we're not trying to increase costs to make additional profit. We're trying to increase costs just to cover the programming increases that our basically forced on us as a cable carrier if we want to carry those channels. So, and we will be putting together something to go out to the public, to every one of our customers, explaining that in more depth, along with some of our other cable changes that we've made, so that everyone understands exactly why the increases are occurring. And we also, again, we talked with our billing folks today, and we can separate out the retransmission fees, and we intend to do that on our billing statements as we moving forward. We can't do it on the February statement, but we'll do it on the March statement. So.
Any other discussion from council members on the first reading of ordinance 692?
I would like the public to get a month after you send that letter out before we institute the increase.
Pardon me, Doctor.
They deserve time to decide if they want to keep getting what they're getting.
Right, right.
So I don't know when your letter is ready, but I don't want this
I've got
rate
most of it-
increase implemented until they've had time to decide if they want to keep going or if they want to cut back.
Yeah, I've got most of it ready to go, and what I hope to do is email it to each of you so you can review it and see if there's any issues that you have with it or changes you'd like to make. But my intent would be to get it out within the next week or two. I don't think it should go out as a stuffer in the billing. Those things just don't seem to get. I think something this large, we need to make a special attempt to make sure people know what's going on. So we'll go out. We've got 3 readings, so we would be we'll be into the first of March at the very earliest for the billing. So I would say within the next 2 weeks that letter will go out. So they'll have at least 3 weeks and maybe 4. Actually, I think the billing will, we might be able to get it in March, but I don't know if we will with our billing cycle or not. So it may be April before we can even implement these increases. But the letter will go out 3 or 4 weeks anyway before any of the increase takes effect, Doc.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, I'd like a roll call vote, please, for the first reading of ordinance 692.
Kurth.
Aye.
Olson.
Aye.
Harvey.
Yep.
On a 3-0 roll call vote, first reading of ordinance 692 passes. Again, the second and third readings will be held at our next meetings, second and then consequently the third. Agenda item number 6 is a possible sale of city-owned parcel of land located directly east of the motel property. We've had some person interested in getting some property, and Gary's been working with that person. So,
Yeah, and tonight, we're not far enough along to really probably entertain too much tonight, other than a couple questions that maybe we need to clarify yet. I talked with the individual today, and he's not sure that, he's not sure he needs that much property, but, and I think most of that driven by cost, probably more than anything. So the 2 things I'd like some direction on, number 1, do you want to provide him a number, or do you want him to just bring a bid back to you, and like we've done in the past? We've kind of done it both ways. And secondly, are you willing to, my thought was that we just follow the existing property line there, so we have a straight property designation, rather than trying to cut that. If we cut that property north and south, it'll make it very difficult to get access to the west half without creating some type of. I mean, we own the property to the south, but in the future, if it's utilized, it may create an issue with an easement or something. Could be done, but. Initially, I just drew that line on the map because it aligned with the existing property line. So, my question would be: Do you care if we sell it in a smaller parcel? And secondly, do you want him to bring a price to us, or would you prefer to give a price to him?
Is that building on the property?
Pardon me?
It looks like a building is on.
No, not on the property that we're looking at, Tim. I'm not sure which building you're.
Right past the Y, just little bit north of the
That's,
Y.
there's a building on our property there
Oh, that's not the
that
neighbor.
belongs to somebody else, no. It belongs to that individual to the north. Pretty common occurrence. That happens a lot around town, but
So would they have a chance to buy it? And would we give them a chance to buy a section or move the building?
well, we have to go through the public hearing process and everything, so they would have an opportunity to buy it if they wanted to. I mean,
Okay.
Meaning, should we sell them enough footage to remove the?
Well, that's what I'm just saying. If they've got something, I don't know what's in it or anything, or if it's valuable, but I'm just thinking that they should have the chance since they,
it's not a very fancy building.
And I'm not sure I want to set that precedent
what,
of carving out pre-existing structures that were built off a property line.
okay, yeah, that makes
I
sense.
mean, like you said, there's this problem all over town. You know,
There are.
if the neighbors can't get together and decide on a fix, then we've got a property line that will solve it for them. We'll take the building down.
Sounds good.
My next question is, are we going to price everybody else out of the market if we make this lot too cheap? I mean,
Yeah, I think
the
we
only
need to-
people selling lots in Hawarden seem to be Hawarden.
Yeah, I agree. We need to be competitive with it, and I don't know
I-
what competitive is, you know, that's
Well,
the problem.
I'm not sure $6,000 for, whatever it was, 60,000 square feet is
Yeah.
an
It's an
appropriate
acre,
price.
it's an acre of ground,
Yeah.
so sell an acre of farm ground is gonna bring,
Well, I don't need that much, but I'm not sure that the price you had in mind is going to be enough that I can vote for it.
sure.
Just because I worry about what everybody else's lots are worth, comparatively speaking.
Yep,
If we set this as the price for an acre of ground, regardless of where it is, how is anybody going to get rid of a lot that they own?
would you prefer to just have him come back with an offer, maybe?
Oh, subject to whether I'm going to accept it or not.
Yeah. I mean,
not
you know,
gonna promise
you can
that.
still, yeah, I mean, you can still not accept it, but at least,
You were about 6,500 an
Yeah.
acre.
yeah, that's kind of, I was just taking some sales and averaging them out and square footage by the square foot, but, you can
Add
you can make
1,000
numbers
to
say
it.
whatever you want them to say sometimes, so,
You could add 1,000 to it,
yeah.
and I think be marketable. Jim?
Yeah, I think so. Sometimes when we've given good prices, it's because they've agreed
Yeah.
to
Improve the,
put something on
yeah,
there,
yeah. That would do the community some good, and while, Mr. Van Wy, I'm sure, is most anxious to build a shed there, it's not going to do the community much good.
Not creating jobs or anything.
Yeah. Right. So while I'm willing to sell it to him, I'm not willing to give it away
Yep.
because I don't see any public benefit.
Yep.
Makes
I'm
sense.
good with that.
Yes, you can have it, but you can't steal it.
Yep. Any thoughts on how I determine a value then? I mean, do you guys have any, a better method to determine what
Well, it's all
value you
about
would think?
location and square foot and everything else. Like I said, I think 65 is too low, but I think I could live with 75.
75, okay.
I mean, just from a cursory view of what has sold for empty lots in town in the last 7 or 8 years. That's about what a lot in Hawarden, aside from the one I'm living on, seems to be worth.
Sure. Sure. You guys somewhat comfortable with
Yep,
going
I'm
that
good.
direction? And I can mention it to him and see where it goes. And I wasn't very excited to consider dividing the property there, but unless you guys are, but
No.
I think it'd be really nice to keep the property lines aligned and,
It's going to make the other property easier to sell.
yeah. If he wants to sell it, that's fine, but.
Once he's got it, it's his baby to do with whatever he wants to.
Yeah, I mean,
He can sell a chunk to the neighbor next door if he wants to.
Exactly.
I don't care, but as far as Hawarden is concerned, this is the lot we have to sell.
you sell some property, the guy has his building on his property. So,
It's been done before.
okay, thank you for some guidance there, and I'll get back with Larry and we'll we need to mark it out for him, and he wants to see what it looks like. And so it'll be back on the agenda for the next meeting again, I'm sure. So thank you.
Thanks for your discussion. We'll move into the review of the fiscal year 2015-2016 utility budgets. Those again have been in your packet.
We went through the utilities briefly last week, or 2 weeks ago, I guess, and just wanted to give you one more opportunity. You've had chances to review, and again, nothing that I can see is really out of the ordinary to draw attention to, unless you guys have other concerns or thoughts. I think it's pretty. I think it's well put together. I think everyone did a great job, and the council's done a great job in helping us cut expenses and I think the budget reflects that. So, unless you have other concerns, that I'm not going to spend time going line by line through this thing. So.
Good staff have done a nice job of getting transfers out of these areas dwindled down nicely in the last number of years.
Yeah, it's worked out well. You know, some things are just out of our control. We can't do much about the reduced use of telephones, and we can't do much about U.S. Cellular no longer needing T1 lines to serve their towers. There's things that are just out of our control that we, but I think we've done a good job with for the most part, all of us with working together with the numbers we can't control. So, unless you have other questions or concerns on the utility budget, we can move on to the general fund.
Anything on utility budget questions?
Let's move.
Okay, then they're always open for more questions during the week. We'll then move on to the 2015-16 general fund and special fund budgets, if we could, please.
Again, we'll just run through this and see if you have any questions on the highlighted areas. I did give you a summary overview sheet that highlights anything that I felt was significant in change. And there's not too much of that either. Again, on page 9, property taxes are down slightly because of the new backfill provision that's being done by the state legislature. So the property tax went down slightly, but the backfill went up significantly. So in reality, we're receiving about $10,000 more in property tax this year than last. Rents and leases on the same page. Rents went up because of the ag land and putting out for bids. On page 11, as you can see, the utility transfers are down $30,000 again this year. Thanks to you guys and the decisions we've made policy-wise over the last several years have really made a huge difference. If you took a year before that, we were up at $488,000, so we've gone from $488 to $310. That's a pretty significant decrease, considering costs have increased. So when you factor that in as well, it's pretty significant. Road use tax on page 11 is up slightly. Again, that's driven by the state depicts what the rate's going to be, and it went up slightly this year again. We did put in $20,000 for some French Park improvements, but that will only be if we get some grant funds to do so. So you'll see it in here several times, but we put it in as an expense or as a revenue, but we also have it as an expense, built in as an expense, but it's only going to be driven by grant funds. If we don't get grant funds, it doesn't happen. So unless you guys want it to happen, but right now we're counting on a couple grants that we're going to apply for, and hopefully we can make that work. So page 13, that's just a summary of expenditures. Again, parks and playgrounds, that reflects the French Park, $20,000, so that's why it's increased, but without the French Park it would be a decrease. Golf course, or excuse me, cemetery is up slightly. Ricardo's putting in more hours, and and there's some increased costs there, but he's doing a lot more than just golf course work, and the guy's phenomenal. Community center, you see the community center went from 0 to 5,000. We used to have the community center elsewhere in the budget. The auditors really didn't like the way it was reflected over the past number of years, so we've pulled it out as a separate line item. So now you'll see a separate line item each year for the community center. It doesn't. We aren't budgeting $5,000 more. It just came out of, I think it was general administration, I believe, if I remember right, but it was elsewhere in the budget, and so it's basically just a shift of where the money is reflected in the budget. It's not that we've increased the budget. So,
Do we have a line item for revenue then?
I'm sorry.
Do we have a line item for revenue?
Yes, there is. Yep, there is.
So we can set them aside and
Yes, sir.
decide at the end of the year?
Yep, there sure is. Policy administration went down this year. Again, some of that's due to some reductions in what we, our health insurance ultimately, and also some salary reductions in total salary that we spent, and same with policy administration, same thing. The library is up, but again, it's somewhat misleading with the library because we have a capital capital building fund for all of their buildings. For some reason, the library is not included in that. So in their budget this year, they have $5,000 for carpet, and that comes out of their normal budget, operating budget. So if we were to take that out and have it in a fund where it probably should be, it would be probably a $5,000 increase. So, but all in all, if you look at total expenditures, it's an increase of about $18,000 over last year, which is 1%. So.
And that is excellent.
Yeah.
Really happy about that.
Yeah, that's pretty decent. And again, if you go to page 15, general administration, we talked about the decreases in salary and fringe benefits, and they're reflected, and the total expenditures are down. If you go to page 16, police protection, you'll see sellers are up slightly, but benefits are down slightly. So there's about a $5,000 increase in their budget, which is pretty minimal, $400,000 budget on a percentage basis at least. Fire, very little change. The fringe benefits went up because of the classification changed on, they're now protected class, just like police, so that we have to pay a higher work comp, IPERS category, and the work comp went up as well. So I guess it's dealing with work comp. There's no IPERS there. It's just work comp. So. And expenditures, so basically their budget went up about $1,500 this year. Ambulance, we did increase crew fees and daytime coverage. We did not budget as yet for a full-time director. We've not authorized that. We can always amend the budget if in March we get a new council person, and that's the direction we want to go. We can amend the budget at that time. Page 19 on the roadway maintenance, virtually the same as last year. Page 20, again, the reflection on the library budget. There's about $6,000 roughly in budget increase, $6,500. The rest is carpet and carpet, yeah. So. Otherwise, we go to page 23. Very, very slight increase in the pool, about $800 over last year. Page 25, again, there's a slight increase with the salaries and benefits on the cemetery with Ricardo. Page 26, You can see the line item for grants, donations, that's the French Park, the 20,000, if we get that. So we budgeted revenue, we budgeted an expense, so it's just an offsetting item in the budget, so it really doesn't impact the budget at all. And again, in Parks and Playgrounds, you'll see the capital outlay, 20,000 for French Park. Again, that's just a reflection of the grant funds should we receive them.
I just got a question with,
Yes, sir.
like, the airport rent, which obviously we don't have the airport anymore. Is there any reason we have to keep that in?
Not really.
Could we get rid of
Some of that
this
stuff, yeah, there's some other things that we need to clean out of here, and, yeah.
I wasn't sure if there was some rule or law or something.
No, we try to keep them on until they went through the 5 years that they were carried on the budget, and once it's zeros across there, they should really come off. But
Back to streetlights. We aren't saving any money. I mean, we've turned off streetlights. We have replaced them with LEDs, and yet the expense you've got written here is within $1,000 of what it was before.
yeah, well, and part of that, Tom, and I'll maybe let you talk about that. I don't know,
I mean, I thought we're doing this to save some money.
can you,
I think we've saved a lot of money on it, but some of the upkeep on some of the older ones has been a little high yet, but it's definitely making a difference. I think we have, if I remember right, we have is it about 100 less lights right now? So it's.
Well, not according to the budget. I mean, we are anticipating spending as much next year as we did this year. So
right.
explain that to me.
The actual figure should actually be lower. So,
You're telling me this is a little pad that you built into the, okay. As long as what we're doing is showing some positive effect here.
Yeah, there's no
Because I'm
question.
getting complaints from people about the town being darker. I mean, I think they'll get used to it.
Sure.
But I have to be able to say we're saving money, and based upon this budget, I can't say that.
Sure. It does, again, Tom talked about the increased expense for, and there's also a cost to replacing the streetlights with LEDs. They're a little bit higher priced initially to replace them, but they have a 10-year life?
10 plus.
10 plus? Or the other ones, about every year we have to replace bulbs or
The prices are
ballasts.
coming down considerably too, so they have one that looks like the regular old style street light with a little dome or rounded glass on it that's an LED now that you can't hardly tell it's an LED even, but they're down pretty close to what the old ones were. So it's getting better. If we have to buy the Cobra heads, they're quite a bit higher. So
Talk to the electric company about getting you a deal if you buy LEDs. I've heard they make deals to residents, so.
Savings will, it's already there on the lights we replaced. It will be there overall as we continue the program, but. Looking through some of the other funds, I think most of them are pretty much the same as they've always been. I think those are the only changes that I've recognized in the rest of the budget that I can see. Unless you guys have other questions, again, I'm thrilled that we're able to, all of us have been involved with some of the changes that we've made over the last few years, and you can see the reflection in transfers and if you consider the projects that we've accomplished, in some cases such as Central Avenue and Avenue H behind us that we didn't borrow a dime for, we paid for with cash, and yet the auditor was here at our last meeting and said that we still have 107 days of operating money in our general fund. That's pretty remarkable, considering we didn't borrow money to pay for those projects, and we still did them. So I think it says a lot about the decisions you guys have made, the policies you've established, and I think the staff has done a great job of doing what they can to control costs. There's always areas, there's always things we can do better. There's no question, but we've come a long way. So I don't know if you have any major concerns or major changes you want to address, or, personally, I'm very, very pleased and very thrilled with the way the numbers came together, and I think we have some other opportunities over the course of the next couple of years to, again, save some additional revenue, but we have to work through those, and it takes time to get there, but we will get there.
Any other comments about the general fund or special fund budget?
Not time.
Nope. Any issues anybody has with anything that you can see that jumps out at you?
Looks good.
We'll move then to agenda item number 9. This would be the reappointment of Gary Tucker as a representative to the Housing Authority of the City of Hawarden. Gary's served in that capacity the last, was that a 5-year term?
3-year
term? Okay, you're willing to do that again?
Yeah, at least for a while, absolutely. Yeah, it's important to have someone on there, even though the meetings can be really painful. They're in Spencer, and they're about an hour
Right,
meeting.
travel time
You have
is
to drive
worse
3
than-
hours for an hour meeting, but it's really important to have Hawarden represented, because we do have a lot of LMI housing that is impacted with the money that we actually receive through that HUD program. So, whether it's me or whether it's someone else, it doesn't matter, but we do need a representation there, so. I might as well suffer as well, rather than somebody else. It's one of the few meetings I go to.
So do you need a motion for that?
I'd need a motion to,
So moved.
Second.
there's been a motion by Travis, second by Tim, to appoint Gary Tucker as our representative to the Housing Authority of the City of Hawarden. All in favor of that appointment, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Hearing none, that passes 3-0. Our next regular meeting will be held on February the 11th. I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
There's a motion by Tim. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Travis. All in favor of adjournment, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thanks so much for your work this evening.